so we are officially starting 3. It's just, I don't see anybody from the public. So I guess we don't have any public to speak today. Everybody got a chance to look at the minutes from last time. Any additions, deletions, corrections? All right. I move that we accept them as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Minutes unanimously accepted. All right, so Pam Latimer was very excited. Remember, she was here last time, and she's part of the.
She's a head therapist or something?
She's a chiropractor. And she's also part of the HCAM. Yeah. And so she's very excited about working with us. I had to talk to her a little bit. I'm not sure she really understood.
Hey, Jeff.
Hey.
Hey, how are ya?
Here, let's pull up a seat. Sit right next to Glenn if you don't mind.
Thank you.
How'd you get warmth in here?
I don't know. I just
Every
came
time
in.
I
and
come in here, I freeze.
Yeah, that's what, I was a little worried today when I thought, should I have brought a sweater? All right, so we are Jack, right?
Correct.
And your last name?
M-E-E. That's it. You can
Oh,
stop
that's
writing.
very easy.
Yep.
Easy. All right, so why we asked you here today is that we're just trying to sort out the new building codes.
You're not alone.
Yeah, and so I think Len dropped off a presentation that we had from.
Very Martin.
And
It was very good.
Yeah.
You get a
I
chance
did. Yep.
It presents it very well.
And so, we're learning,
Yep.
we want to understand, particularly Harwich, we don't really care what Yarmouth is doing, we want to just focus on Harwich. So as a green community, we know that we are obligated to stick to the new
Correct.
stretch code,
Yep.
and then the specialized stretch code is something that would have to be voted on at town
Correct.
meeting. All right, so we understand those two things.
Yep.
So, we do not have a proposal for a town meeting on that. Not to say we never will, but
No,
right now
no.
we do not.
Good.
Right.
And
Should we?
currently, this is only me personally, the ultimate goal I'm all behind. To push that forward to this town meeting, in my opinion, is not the right thing to do. And
Will you tell us when it is?
certainly, and a big factor with that is that between DOER and the Massachusetts and adopting our revised building code, that they've been fumbling on this edition probably the last 3 years.
I mean, is it official now and has it been sent out?
So it's not official.
No. It did just get signed last week, I believe, by the governor to move it forward. Thus, it goes out to public notifications. It's required to be shown and discussed in at least 3 areas across the Commonwealth.
So just because the governor approves it, that doesn't get it into the system then?
No, that was one of the steps to, I think it was, come on, people, because it's been a long, long time.
And it's confusing, because for example, if I wanted to build a brand new house today in Harwich, what codes am I going to be inspected on? Like if my contractor,
Yep.
is he going to have to follow the new stretch code?
The DOER got through over the summer their updated stretch code. However, it did not go the conventional way of Massachusetts and get adopted through the state building code because the building code was fumbling along. So they got that brought in, but there's question, is it in fact enforceable through the building code? And it's so convoluted there. I am hoping that, over the next several months with these required showings across the Commonwealth and, you know, public comment, etc., that they do finally adopt it.
So those new houses.
You're still talking about the specialized code here.
No, they're just a regular stretch code.
Oh, just the regular stretch code?
The one that we're supposed to be,
Okay, so the stretch code that's, I thought we had the stretch code, but we're going to expand the stretch code now.
right,
That's what you're talking about.
right, and he's saying that's not quite, so all those new houses in East Harwich, those are being inspected on the old stretch code.
Correct.
Right. Because one of the bigger differences is the HERS rating, right?
Yeah, that's the difference.
The difference,
yes.
right.
Just
Do you know if the builders are having a problem with that? Can't you get any feedback from them, or do you know?
I can to a point, and it's interesting because they're required to have a HERS rater come in, run the test, and be able to provide the builder with a certification, which they then turn in to us. Good and bad, over the past several years, a lot of the communities, Harwich included, we're doing online permitting. So those documents, when they get them, they just upload it to the permit into our system. So with me being a newer washer shore working here in Harwich, I don't know a lot of the builders face to face. In the old world, they would be coming in with the updated document.
Exactly,
And, you know, I would have those conversations.
Or do they show you the HERS number now?
Yes,
So,
but what my thing is, did they get that first try? Did they get that 10th try?
Right, so.
I do think that most of them are getting it first try. I don't know that factually. But let's say, you know, I'm the builder, you're the HERS rater. I finished my house. Can you certify it? You run your tests and you come in, Jack, we got a problem. You're not hitting the number. What do I need to do? You need to start tightening up here and here, and okay, I'll try that. Come back, run your tests. Do I make it? Maybe yes, maybe no.
you know, it's a lot of times it depends on how the test is done and all this. But I had a situation with a radon test in upstate New York, where in upstate New York, to sell your house, you have to have a less than 4.0 picocuries per liter.
Yep.
And I was away on, it was Friday the 13th, and they were testing. Had a offer to buy the house, and I guess the woman must have had some misgivings about it or something. But she came in and she said that the deal's off. The radon come in at 4.0 picocuries per liter. And then I said to, I had a test of myself, and I tested it at 2.1. But I moved the test thing nearer the door. But you're not supposed to open the door, but there was no requirement as to where it was placed. It was placed way back in the other room, and it was there for an extra 2 days. And she never showed me the test data. It's because I don't know whether it was true or false, because if I tested it as 2.1 and she's 4.0, it depends on where you put it in the room. And I was talking to some other people in Massachusetts when I had it tested here. I have got a radon system. You're supposed to taste it at the level where you breathe. That's what the right level is, and it doesn't make any difference whether it's near a door or a window. But there's all these things, anomalies that you can make this thing come out right. It's like I can make my cholesterol come out right if I hike a high peak the day before, and I'm studying for my test that way. My cholesterol goes down below 200. I don't need to take any pills for that. So, but it depends.
But I think, you know, the HERS people, I think it's been around for a while now, and I think the builders are familiar with it. We have raters, you know, people who have been trained to do this, and I think that one of the things that I have heard is it's not so much that it takes them 10 times to get certified, is that there aren't that many HERS raters that come to Cape.
I've heard that, yes.
And so if you're the contractor and you wanted to get that house over to the people who are paying you, you call me as a HERS rater, and I said, well, I can be there next month. You know, well, that doesn't really make you happy.
Yeah,
right?
I don't
So-
know if it's at that point.
So anyway, those are big things that I think, builders, if you guys have these, workshops and things
Oh,
like
yeah.
that,
Yep.
that need to sort of be discussed and worked out.
Yep,
But for us, so what we need to know is that right now, we are, as far as what you're saying, correct me if I'm wrong, we are not using the new stretch code, we are using what we had.
For green communities.
Yeah.
right.
So we
yeah,
haven't made that switch yet.
Right.
And you're saying that as soon as DOER,
Yeah, and the
And the
state,
buil- and the
yeah,
state
yeah.
finish the
When we adopt what will be known as the 10th edition of the building code,
okay,
that is going to pull in the 2021 International Energy Code,
okay,
which is gonna kick us off.
okay, good.
So, just last week, I got Bay State Builder, and this is part of the, Cape Cod is part of the National Home Builders and Remodelers Association. And I actually made some copies for you, because lo and behold, they talk about what's going on, and just a couple of snippets. Reminder, the report on the affordability of net zero homes is out. It goes on to talk, builders are also experiencing pressure to devise and creatively implement solutions to these unprecedented changes. With so many complex and conflicting agendas to manage, we are struggling to find solutions. Right at the top of a couple of the pages, the page header is listed as too many energy codes, too little clarity. So, it's getting there. This is home builders are talking about this regularly at their association meeting. Every month, we as building officials get together, and we're always on the topic. I don't want to get we're always on the topic. Where the heck do we stand with the energy code?
Right.
So, bottom line, the Massachusetts law, getting us there. I'm there. 100%. That's the right thing for all of us. However, in the current situation in the building industry, in my opinion, to push the stretchier stretch code right now is not the pertinent
I
thing.
think Truro did it,
Wellfleet.
did it, but, so some towns are doing it, but, I'm not sure Harwich
Yeah,
would be there.
as they start to feel the way, and, I was there when our first stretch code, and a lot of that came back to the building officials. We are out there, we're getting trained, and shame on the Commonwealth. If you're gonna move this forward, put out programs, educational. A lot of the local builders right here, they show up at their associations. If they know that the topic, they'll be there. And it's like anything else. Once you learn how to ride the bike,
Right.
then you know how to ride it.
And do these guys, particularly the Cape, my husband was a plumbing contractor for years and years. And he had to do the same thing, he had to,
Yeah,
go
sure.
to these
Yep.
workshops,
Yep.
periodically. And they were all, the Cape Cod plumbers were always very excited when the association would have workshops here on the Cape as
Yep.
opposed to going to Middleborough or
Yep.
wherever it is that they
Yep.
send them. So, have they had many of these workshops here? I know sometimes Shepley sponsors them,
Yep.
or, that type of thing.
Yeah, last year, there was a series of them, put on by DOER.
Mhm.
And I think that if I was to be looking for some training, some education today, I could probably go online and, a lot of those presentations were probably
Right.
recorded.
Right.
So I could pick up on that, but, lowering the HERS rating number, they know that that's the goal, okay, but technically, what do we change? How do we do that? It is more than just piling a couple more feet of insulation in the attic. There's an awful lot with the air sealing, and the builders have relearned their industry a lot in, 13 years or
Right,
whatever,
right.
since we first adopted it. And I think a lot of them, they're more than willing to learn, but the teaching and, the ideas on the technical side are not totally there, readily available for the builder.
Okay.
Sadly, I've heard, and I hope it's not true, but the state being the state, with the hopeful assumption that we do, in fact, adopt our updated 10th edition code, we've been told that there's zero funding from the state to be educating us.
So it's up to the towns to,
Right,
like for you, the town would have to pay to
right.
update you
Right,
and
we on our own, there's four major, the state's divided into four sections. We're in the southeast region. We have an association of building, I happen to serve on the board of directors and have for a number of years. Our whole purpose is for our own guys to train our own guys. And we bring in trainers, every month we have some type of training.
And all these guys are building commissioners for towns in the southeast.
Yep, yep.
And you're on that. So not everybody is on the board, but you're on the board.
No, I happen to be on the board and I'm very active with, bringing in education and training and,
So if you wanted to do training on these new 10th edition codes,
right,
first of all, you need to have good information to provide to the builders.
Yep.
That they can actually use.
right.
But you would probably be okay with hosting something like that here in Harwich if you had material or a trainer to come in that was going to be useful.
Yep. We so for our January meeting, we are trying our best to get someone to come to our association to kind of highlight what the changes within our building code is from our current 9th edition to the 10th edition. If you just give me the book, it's like, yippee, okay.
Same with plumbing.
You ought to indicate which paragraph, like this, do
Exactly.
you go from a double pane to a triple pane window, yes or no? That's kind of a question.
Yep.
And that will give you a checklist to see
Yep.
if I got these things, and I got a good chance of making this
Right.
HERS rating.
And to me, that makes all the sense in the world, is to have it in the standards. Doing HERS testing,
Mhm.
instead of doing that, when a builder has a designer draw up the prints, if you have an addendum on the back that you have all these requirements, that will get you to a HERS number, and then all you have to do is make sure that they're building it to the addendum that they have in the back. Instead of testing, it's gonna say, I had this many layers of insulation, I did this and this to seal the house.
Yeah.
I did triple pane windows, I did all these things, which should be part of the code. And if
Yeah,
you did
and
all
they
those
are.
things, if
They
you did
are.
all those things, I'm done. But I understand
But
your
you still
problem.
need, you hate to say it, but the reason there are building inspectors is to keep the builders honest. And, and most are, they want to
Yep,
pass,
yep.
And they don't want to.
But it ought to be like a checklist type of thing. Did he
Well, there
do
is.
this? Did he do this? Did he do this? If he did most of them, he's gonna be okay.
But a
Based on,
building is a big,
No, what do you
complicated
mean?
thing, and
No,
sometimes,
I mean, you can go down that whole checklist and, you did the triple pane, you did the high efficiency, boiler, you got 2 feet of insulation in your attic, And when the HERS rating comes in and he pressurizes the house and he runs his blower door test on that, and it's like,
You might find some leaks that
Yep.
was, not because somebody's trying to be unscrupulous or something, it's just, houses are big, complicated things, you know,
right,
and.
and a lot of the bigger home builders, just by default, they've learned and they've shown that it's highly achievable.
Yeah.
It's the guys that are building the 1 and 2. You know, I had a guy 6-8 months ago, Jack, we only do modular homes. I don't need a HERS grader. I said, you absolutely do. I've never had to in all the years I've done this. I don't know where the heck you've been working, because since 2009, it's been required, and I've collected that.
Yeah.
Well, how the hell am I gonna get that? I can't get a HERS rater to come out.
Right, yeah, so.
But
some
the
of
bigger
that-
ones who
yeah,
do that,
Yeah,
they,
They have
you
a
know,
system.
yeah, they figure out, you know, a big thing is, you know, caulking as they're building at the top level, at the ceiling and the walls. They
Yeah.
found that that's a major leak. If they can do that one simple step, they're that much closer to.
What are they actually caulking?
It's the, a lot of, when they drywall the ceiling,
Of your upstairs?
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
yeah.
and if you've ever been in a building when they're doing it, the drywall is, they jam that piece up because they want that seam tight,
Yeah.
because they need
No,
to
I've done-
tape
I've
it,
done it,
finish it,
yeah.
right. However, that is, you know, through infrared guns, etc., that's one of the quickest, low money types of modifications. If they seal that, they seal the top plate, they seal the shoe when they tip up the wall.
yeah. There's a lot of places where air can get in.
Mhm.
And, you know, as the HERS ratings get tighter and tighter, those little things are gonna matter more and more. And that's the kind of information that, like you said, some builders, they figured this out.
Yeah,
It's
oh,
like
yeah.
They just do it, you
Yeah.
know, but that's the kind of information that needs to get disseminated to other builders who make.
In my past community, when I left to come here for this job, we had a builder, I think it was like an 80-house subdivision. And when they started talking about the newer stretch code, you know, he came in and he's got his book and, can we talk? And he loved to talk about this. And, you know, the current 42 that we're shooting for, no, I'm already there. He says, I keep working my guys. I want to get it down on my own. And he was very aggressive. And he, you know, working his team, retraining the framers that you need to take
Yep.
a few steps before the wall's up. You know, if the framer has done it on 1 or 2 houses, then he gets in the flow. You get an old-time framer who hasn't faced it. We don't do that. We've never done that, and we
We don't
can't
do that.
possibly do that.
How many builders roughly do you have that you deal with just in Harwich? Are you talking about 6 or are you talking about 30?
Well,
And I'm talking about not HVAC guys, I'm talking about actual builders that come in and build new construction.
a lot on the Cape.
Yeah, there are, yeah.
Some of them are pretty big, I mean, like
Eastland's a big one.
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
I mean,
There's
there's
a lot of
a
$2
lot of
million
big ones.
houses all over the
Right.
place.
Right, and, you know, his crew's got it figured out. You know, it was learning a new way to do things up front, and there were a lot of grumping and groaning from the guys doing it.
You know, why, I had this energy audit done a couple of months ago, or maybe a year ago, and they went around, they caulked all on the basement thing, but then nobody did any caulking up on that point that you're talking about.
Right,
there's no
because they
way-
can't get to
yeah,
it.
they can't get to it, right?
Right, not
So
after
they
it's
didn't
done.
even look at it, all they did was go around the basement.
Well, they do what they can do, unless you wanna take your sheet rock down and
You
start
have
over
Rice
again.
doing it?
I was just
Rice?
curious, I mean.
What's the name of the
on a
company?
magnitude, how many
It was
guys
whatever
do you
this
have
one
at
that goes with the
Are you talking
Eversource or
about
something.
30, or are you
Rice.
talking about a dozen?
Yeah,
Are you talking
it's
about
Rice. I had it
More
done
than
also.
30? I mean, roughly.
I mean, 20 to 30 could be.
Yeah, okay.
But, you know, it's the framers the drywallers, the supervisors, the insulators.
So instead of the general contractors being trained on all this, you'd like to have all, like you just said, the framers, the insulators,
All
the
the
sheet
subs.
rockers.
Yeah.
You'd have all the subs also would come and be trained in that session. Okay, I just
Because
want,
if you don't have everybody buying into it, then, like you said, then a builder is stuck at the end not knowing if he's gonna pass the hers because he doesn't know what the framer did.
Right.
You know,
And if we go back in time, it used to be Energy Star. They were coming in, they were doing the higher rated appliances.
right.
And, they were doing more insulation. And there was a criteria, and if you met that criteria, you got the designation. And, builders would use that as a sales tool. We're Energy Star, approved,
Right.
you're gonna be paying less for your utilities, which is the ultimate goal here. But, it's doable, and it's sadly, we are going from the older stretch code to the newer stretch code. So the guys that are struggling are gonna struggle more. The guys that get better figured out, they should be able to pretty much hit that in stride. I see it as a hardship right now to then whack them and, no, you're not going to here, now you're going to here. Let the science catch up and, guide them.
But as soon as the state approves this, then you're obligated to enforce it. I mean, that's.
and who do you think would be the best person to coordinate a workshop to educate them? Would it be somebody like yourself who's on that board with other building commissioners? Or would it be building associations that pull all the builders together?
Right. I mean, pulling the people together is the easy thing.
But it's the information that you roll out is what's nebulous right now.
Mhm.
But if you were to pull together and have an on-Cape presentation, so let's say a year from now, and set that as a goal,
Mhm.
who would be the person who would take charge on something like that and coordinate it and get it done?
A lot. The prime driver right there should be DOER. They're the ones writing the code, and have them with their engineers get there to the builders.
Would DOER come and do a presentation?
Well, we can talk about that.
See, that's-
Cable Light Compact is also very concerned about this, because,
Okay.
Yeah.
as you already know,
Yeah.
Harwich is not the only town
Yep.
struggling with this.
Mhm.
And of course, the Cape, we're all green communities now, and we're trying to move the needle, get everybody on the same page. And so, I think Cape Light Compact might be interested in pushing DOER for not just clarification, but training.
And how is it financed? How is the training financed?
Right now, 0.
Yeah. So
No prospects of any kind?
That could change. That could
the training that I get is all self-funded through our association.
Do you guys have to do do you have to do continuing education credits to maintain your certification? See, a lot of these plumbers, that's the cost of doing business, or contractors. In order to keep their license, they have to do so many hours,
Right.
in so much time period. It varies from trade to trade, and so that kind of gets pushed back on them. That's just the cost of being a plumber or being a builder. You have to keep that continuing education. But I think what we're talking about is trying to find a way to make it even, so it wouldn't cost somebody something to come and take this training, So you might entice, for example, a framer who, I don't know what kind of license they need, but if they didn't need continuing education credits, then they're not likely to pay to go to something, So to try to entice those subcontractors to be as interested in learning new things as the builder,
Right.
who has to maintain a certification and he's gonna go to all these trades.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So it falls under the umbrella of we just work off of a residential home, new home building site. So at least the permit holder is a licensed construction
Right.
supervisor.
Has to be.
Yep. There are usually, a lot of guys are aspiring and, carpenters on the job. Some have it in their back pocket, others don't. But the construction supervisor, and this has only been maybe 10 years, I was very grateful when they finally got to requiring them to maintain continuing ed. Because the plumbers, electricians, inspectors, for years, we've always had to, but the construction supervisors had no requirements. So now they are at that point, so I think that their licenses come up every 2 years, and they need so many exposure hours, to maintain. I do know and believe that a lot of their training has, been tipped towards energy. So it's not brand new.
Yeah, I mean, of course, because
Yeah.
that's the part that's changing the most,
Yeah.
so, I mean, stick building hasn't changed much. It's the energy code that's changed. I remember when you could use 2x4s, to frame. Can't do that anymore.
We were down in Woods Hole yesterday, and there's a new home being built right on the water, and it's all steel.
Wow,
All steel.
they're not going anywhere.
Well, I don't know what's attached to the steel, where that's gonna
Bottom
go,
could be
but,
a saltwater pool or something. Well, thank you, Jack. We appreciate you taking the time and helping us to
Yep.
stay up to
Yep.
date as to what's going on, because,
Yep.
we're not builders, so we don't always know what's happening in the world.
And we are all trying to move
Yeah,
But
to the right end
do
goal.
tell us, I don't know who should advocate for this future code, but when it's the right time to put it out to the town meeting and all that, so that we,
Yep. Yep.
have to do it 6 months ahead of time, so you got to know quite a bit ahead of time.
Yeah.
do these public comment meetings, what they're gonna have, do they have a goal of having that done by the middle of the year, or is there a schedule?
We're hoping.
You're hoping, but you don't know when they're gonna get it done.
I do think that just recently with the governor pushing, I would hope that those meetings happen over the next 3 months, and then they actually put a code out on the street. When they do that, we typically have a six-month concurrency that they ride simultaneously, and then we morph into. So ideally, within calendar year '24.
But why don't I track you down in May
Yep,
to see what's going on?
yep,
And then, by the end of 2024,
yep,
you're hoping, but we don't know.
yep,
And
yeah.
After May, I'll track you down in September, October.
Yep, yep.
Is the right avenue for us as a committee to advise or suggest to the Board of Selectmen that they put it on? Who puts it on these? town-
It would be the selectmen,
yeah, they would have to
But-
write an article,
but it would probably,
but you would have to support it. I mean, the building department would have to support
But
it.
if you told us, should we suggest to them, or is that what?
I would think that's within the scope of this committee, to make the recommendation, meet with the selectmen.
Right.
We've been doing our research, we think that this could be a good thing for the town, and.
I would like to see the stretch code enacted first.
Yep,
I'd like to see that official
yep,
being done in Harwich. And then I would like to visit, how do we take it to the next
yep.
level?
So the existing stretch codes are not mandated by the town of Harwich?
It will be, yeah, because
will
we
be,
already
but-
opted in.
Yeah.
So when the new code is in effect,
Later in 2024,
Yeah.
hopefully.
we whatever that date is.
We're committed to adopt.
Yeah, yeah.
So what do we need from the Board of Selectmen?
If we wanted to go for the stretchier code, the specialized stretch code, that next level,
Gotcha.
which pretty much, like you can't have a gas stove, and that
Yeah.
type of thing, there's all those little other things
Yep.
that go with it.
Okay.
That is something that you have to opt into.
And the state's developing those.
Yeah, I'm not sure, I think you can opt into it. I mean, Wellfleet already did, Truro
So they're already
did.
created, the stretchier codes
Right,
are listed out there.
Right, but I think those are probably in the same situation as what we've just been talking about. They're not codified officially into the Massachusetts State Building Code, which is what's being worked on. I think that with some of the towns like Truro, Wellfleet, they have, their population is very gung-ho with this kind of thing, and I think it's more of a statement of support for the concept.
So you as our building commissioner, would you support that?
Eventually.
Eventually, not for this town meeting.
Yeah.
Um,
So once we get more clarity,
Right.
then you support it. So when the time came, and we had all our ducks in a row, we went to the Board of Selectmen, we could count on you.
Yep. And then ideally, all the other towns are looking at this because in the right formula, it should be state-based. You do bring hardships on builders. Well, I'm gonna build a house for you, I just built him one, but, oh, wait a minute. Now I need, different
Right.
materials,
My
your
house
price
does-
is
yeah.
going up.
Yeah.
Uh,
But in the end, if my house is truly as energy efficient as these codes want it to be, I should get my money back by not paying higher energy bills.
Right,
That's the theory, and that's the,
and part of the language that's out there now is to be building to the newer stretch code and the stretchier stretch code, is not going to cost any more than, building with fossil fuel. That may be a reality, but I don't believe that the contractors, have that mechanism in place. So I think when it kicks, it's gonna quickly kick. And when the builders see that, we make whatever these modifications are, that, that comes through building science to get that. Oh, you want me to do that? Okay, I'll do that. And then all of a sudden we start seeing numbers go down. They'll all be part and
and
parcel.
consumers will start to expect more energy efficient homes.
Right.
They're not gonna want the standard old fashioned leaky house. I mean, they're
Yep,
gonna want their house to be
right.
efficient.
But I don't want to see the builders out there, to meet, these crazy codes, you can figure another $30,000 onto your new home.
Yeah,
And, that's going to be the initial
right.
reaction. But then as they can see and learn, but my fear, don't jam it to them.
Well, you said there's a process,
Yeah.
it goes to the state finally codifies it, then you get to have both codes
Yep.
simultaneously to
Yep.
help people transition.
Yep,
And then, so
Right.
they know it's coming. It's not like
Exactly.
tomorrow you call them up and say, hey, we're on the new code now.
yep, yep. All of that building your crew's been doing for the last month?
Forget it.
Yep, yep.
Well, thank you so much,
Very
Jack.
good. We'll definitely stay in touch.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jack.
Okay.
Thank you.
Happy holidays, all.
You too. All right, so that was good. So, but it's kind of what I expected, it's kind of what he said last time. That the state just hasn't finished. It's a good start, they haven't finished. And so all the houses being built that you see around town, they're on the old code. Unless the owner, the buyer, specifies otherwise, which happens. I mean,
Yeah.
if I'm gonna
Of
build a new
course.
house, I could tell my contractor, hey, I want it to be
Green.
this HERS rated, that I want an energy efficient house.
Yeah.
And so he would build it so it's not that they can't do it. It's just that if you're doing track housing or if you're doing like spec building, then you're gonna do the minimum, you know.
Back when I did projects, and I did it very much my whole career, when we first started, you're trying to get paid back within 7 years. And then it was more aggressive. And if you're gonna allocate money to do a project, you want to pay back within 3 years. Well, that's a corporate area, so as your own buying a house, you know, you have to sit down and decide, is this my dream house I'm gonna live in for the next 10, 15 years? And if so, is it gonna take me 15 years for payback, or is it gonna take me 5 years? 5 years? Absolutely, I'm gonna do that, it's the right thing to do. It's gonna take me 15 years to get my money back, then you might say, well, it's the right thing to do, I'll do it anyways, or it's.
Yeah, and so we will keep track of it. There's nothing that we personally can do about it because, you know, it's stuck at the state level at this point. Jack seems like he is on board with it, and when it comes out, he will definitely, you know, enforce it
Yeah, that's what it's.
when it's time to do so. But, you know, it's just, I'm a little frustrated that they call it the 2021 code, and we're going into 2024, and we still haven't, whatever.
Well,
All right,
we have a
yeah.
new governor,
Yeah.
and the question is that important to her that she's going to be taking?
Well, I mean,
people
you know,
responsible?
the state, they may regret it in the end, but the state came up with this net zero by 2050, you know, and a lot of the legislation, a lot of the codes, a lot of all of that is designed to get us there. And so it has to happen sooner than later because I may not see 2050, but I mean, it's coming sooner than people think.
2050 is far away.
I mean, 2030, we're supposed to stop selling gasoline-powered cars.
Yeah.
And that's really close.
Absolutely.
So, anyway, so we will circle back to the building code later. That's a good idea. Check in with them in May, see how this has gone. I will keep track of
Good idea.
the DOER and training through Cape Lake Compact and see if, you know, if there's something coming through the pipeline there that will help these builders
See, I think
transition.
that'd be a good thing for us to sponsor, you know, and have it at the
Yes.
community center. I mean, we're right in the center of the Cape.
Yes, yes,
And
Glenn.
you can get enough builders to come.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not charging them for it.
Yeah, Cape Lake Compact has done that in the past.
And maybe that's,
Yeah.
we just, well,
And
you
so
work
has-
with Cape Lake Compact.
And so has Cape and Island Self-Reliance. They have done actual trainings for builders.
How do you educate the new buyers that are coming in here so that they advocate for it? Maybe that's the way to push it too.
That's a phenomenal idea because we're so ignorant.
No, I mean, somebody's moving out to the Cape and he's gotta have a new house built. How do we educate him so that he knows what's on the table far out here? So he wants to build a house that's gonna last for 20 or 30 years and he wants to be something that's gonna be able to sell real good when he drops dead or something like that. And he's a millionaire, for example. All these
You have
houses
to
are.
be.
Any
Buying
number
out
of
here.
people who come to the
And
Cape
it-
buy any kind of house, tired, new, whatever.
But
And
they're
they
not
all
down
need,
here.
they all need
There's a limited amount
to
of real estate out here.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a good idea, and I'm gonna circle back to that in a minute because I'll bring it up again someplace else on the agenda. Which will be the next one. Okay, so Pam Latimer, as I was saying before Jack got here, we're very excited. The HCAN people, they have already booked the 204 name, is that what they call
be.
it?
The cultural center,
Cultural
Season
Center.
Road,
They've
whatever.
already booked it for Earth Day, the 20th of April.
Yeah.
And they, 10 to 2, they're gonna have, they expect to have something like, I don't know, 20 tables or something, speakers, you know.
And what would be the topic?
It's all energy stuff.
Like
Save
what?
the Earth, you know, they haven't really
So we're
told.
gonna have a booth there?
So what they want us to do is have a table, minimum, have a table, where we can talk to people, have information maybe about the stretch code, about, hey, if you're buying a house on the Cape, you know, how to get an energy audit, you know.
How about a
We
list
can-
of a checklist of things that you ought to have in this house that give you a
Right.
good possibility of making this survey? Although he said the checklist won't work, but
Yeah.
Well,
I
that would,
sort of think it
that
might
would not
help.
go
But it
along
com-
with what I would like to suggest for us.
Well, yours didn't look, I mean, you wanted to,
I wanted to do a workshop to talk about energy the way Eastham did it. Because I attended that workshop and I thought it was phenomenal.
Do you think that they'd be too much over? Do you think people from Harwich went to this already?
Oh, no, no one went.
Okay. So you think it was just East Ham people?
What was the
Well,
topic of it?
let me read my bullet points, because when I attended that workshop, I thought it was so well done and such a good idea that we should emulate them. So I'm going to read my bullet points and I'm going to go fast and then we can
Okay.
talk about it. Well, they call it Enlightened Living with Solar Energy. And it was organized by the Eastham Climate Action Network, the equivalent of HCAM here in Harwich. It took place at the Eastham Public Library, which has a capacity for 100 people. The attendance was 80 people, and it was held on a Saturday in October, as I said. This event will be, or has been, posted on Channel 8. The organizer had people sign up upon arrival, which I thought it was a terrific idea because it kept them in control of who attended, the number of people who attended, and they asked them, what are you after? What is your interest for coming here? They took attendance, and along with that, by interacting with the attendee, they suggested they attend that same afternoon houses with already solar panels on their roofs and learning how they finance those projects. In other words, it was a full educational day. The event was advertised in local newspapers. We could learn more from Tom McNeilis, head of the Eastham Climate Action. I contacted him and asked for his help. He graciously said, I would be happy to help you. At the signing point, they distributed an agenda reading as follows. First, welcome. It was done by Terry Gallagher, Earth representative to Barnstable Assembly of Delegates. Workshop overview. Solar overview for the consumer. How to make solar work for you. Can I size my solar for a zero electric bill? How to work with a contractor. The exhibitors and lecturers were as follows. Your friends, Valerie, Cape Light Compact, Self-Reliance Cooperative, Cape Cod Climate Change Collaborative, DOER, who by the way said, I'm willing to help in whichever way you need. So I think we could have this woman here. Her name is Leslie Madlena. Outer Cape Climate Action Committee, Barry Merkelin, he promoted his education as a stretch goal. Along with all this, they stated the objectives of the workshop, which were a workshop for residents. What you were talking about, it ties up a little bit. What can we do and how to get it done? Offer unbiased information. How to save money. How to be energy efficient. How to help my grid. How to be a smart consumer. The workshop covered the financing of solar panels, that is net meter and credits. Nowadays, it takes 4 to 5 years to pay for your solar panels. In the past, it took 6 years. It was strongly suggested to get 3 quotes. This is something that DOER suggested. Panels nowadays are the same size as they used to be, but the production capacity has increased dramatically.
I mean, the efficiency.
Efficiency.
I mean,
They are 6 wattage today,
600.
600.
And they are better at capturing the sun's
Yeah,
energy.
my solar panels are 10 years old. So instead of needing 28, maybe I would need 15.
Right.
You know? So that's a terrific saving. And then when it was
What
also,
about the lifespan, was it the same?
About the same,
yeah, it,
I mean,
mine
they have
are
a life to
20,
them, don't
20
they?
years under warranty. And after that, I have no clue. It depends on your roof and many other factors. But these are the kinds of things that were talked about at the workshop. And I would invite Tom McNeilis to give us a presentation on how they put together this very successful workshop. And I thought it was
I think we
phenomenal.
could do both. I mean, I think we could have a table at the Earth Day thing,
But
but we could also do this as
I
separate.
remember last year, I was still part of HCAN, and we did the same thing. We had tables there at the 204
Yep.
Season Road. And it was a mixture of art exhibits. I was the one who was behind a lecture done by Gottlieb
Yep,
from
APCC.
APCC, and to teach us about the importance of keeping our septics properly maintained. But the rest was just related to art. This is
Right,
substance,
right,
you know,
right.
not art.
I don't think, I mean, I think they probably will still have art, but it sounded like they were also going to have speakers.
Well,
And,
maybe
you know-
maybe you're right that the
Yeah.
two things would be a good idea. I don't know.
Right.
So that's why you don't want to go with the Sisson Road thing, because you think it's going to be hard?
Well, I have the experience of last year. And, but I think
I think
Valerie
having
is right. It might be a good idea to have a table. Yeah, just a table.
Because I think, you know, as a committee, we should have a face, I mean, if we should let people know that we exist. and,
Visible.
You know, be visible.
Visibility.
We don't have to put a lot of work into it. We
Yeah,
have- we can have a-
visibility. But
Yeah.
this is
Yeah, but this
major.
would take a lot of work. So would you be willing to ask,
McNeilis.
to come
Yeah.
to one of our meetings?
Yeah, absolutely. Whenever you tell me that it's
Yeah.
okay, I'll invite him.
Jackie, if you haven't sent it to me already, just send me the list
I will.
so I can. put it in-
Absolutely.
so I can put it in minutes.
Absolutely.
I think it even goes further than just educating the people that are buying the houses. You need to educate the people that are laying out the plans with the roads and all that, so that they have a lot of south-facing roofs that are sloped right, like my house. It's got a garage on the south side with a gabled roof. So obviously I have to put it on the east or the west side, which it can be done. But you need to design the houses, right,
Right,
from the get-go, so that they're facing with
Yeah.
the south-facing
One of
roof.
the problems is that we have so many already built houses. And part of the problem with a place like Cape is that, to be honest with you, there's not gonna be a lot of single home building going forward. There's not a lot of land left to do that. Now, many of the towns are gonna start building affordable housing, and I think that they should make sure that they also make those energy efficient, because the people who really need the energy savings are poor people. They need their housing to be energy efficient.
I'm talking about
Absolutely.
lining the houses so that you
Right.
can get the
But
back.
if the house is already built, there's
The
nothing you can do about
exposure
that.
favors your solar panels.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
big
there's
issue.
nothing you can do about your house once it's built. You know, you can't pick it up and reorient it. And we have a lot of those already built houses, so you can't, you know, if somebody comes to you with an already built house, if they're not facing south, then you gotta have a creative way of helping them just figure out what else can they do. All right, so you're gonna contact him.
Absolutely. And
If he can come next month, great. If not,
Okay.
then just let me know if he wants January, February, what
Okay.
is you want,
Okay.
and I'll make sure.
And it will be the third Thursday, right?
Yeah, so Thursday, January 18th was
Okay. Okay.
what I put out there as on the agenda. I mean, you know, let me know if that doesn't work for you. You're gonna be in Florida.
I'll be calling in, okay?
Yeah, you'll be calling
Yeah,
in.
you're
You
super.
call-
From the beach, Charlie, you gonna call from the beach?
Call from
No,
the
not from the
beach.
beach, I'll call from my office there or something.
On the beach. Val,
January 18th at 3 PM?
Yep, yep.
Call in your phone number?
Yep.
Okay.
Val, getting back to that table. This is gonna be an Earth Day thing, right?
Yes.
So I'm a little lost on it being artsy. Earth Day is Earth Day. Whatever the
Well,
topics
we're
are pertain to Earth Day.
I think, you know, to appeal to the masses, you know, when people come to it, I think they want it to be something for everybody. So I think there's gonna be some serious, you know, solar energy, wind energy, recycling, you know, sciencey information stuff. But there's also gonna be like a kids' energy table where they can make energy projects and, you know, there's a way to make Play-Doh so it conducts electricity and you can make a squishy grid, or I forget what we called it, but you know, so they can make circuits and things like that, stuff like that, you know, and so, and in amongst that will probably be people who are interpreting saving the earth through art, you know what I'm saying? This is Cape Cod.
Well, yeah.
Vendors.
It's
I got
So it's
it.
gonna
It's
be, I
one
think
way
it's gonna be
to
a-
talk about
It's
it.
called the cultural center, so they
Yeah,
have to.
it's gonna be a mix, I think.
Yeah.
Something
I
like
mean,
that.
look at Roseanne, you know, who used to be here. I mean, she's also a part of, actually, she got back in touch with HCAN and she's working
She's
with
a
them.
member, she
Yeah.
went back.
She went back, and so, you know, she's more artsy than
Yeah,
she is
totally.
sciencey, you know, so,
Absolutely.
but she still has something to contribute to the whole
Absolutely.
discussion. So yes, it'll be a mixture.
Gotcha.
And we can, you know, we can be very, very straightforward. We can, the Department of Energy, they put out a list of, you know, recommended, well, through Cape Light Compact, we can get a list of recommended solar contractors. We can, you know, we can have information available to people. Won't be as detailed as a workshop,
Yeah.
but we can still have stuff that people can come and look up,
Absolutely.
you know.
Absolutely.
So I think we can do both, and I think it's good for the public to see us out.
Yep.
Yeah, it gives us more visibility.
How do we get a good list of contractors for solar?
The state has them, and then the Cape Light
Does it
Compact edited it out.
And,
Does it include the ones that screwed up in Yarmouth, or
Well,
or they've been cut
They
out?
were on the list because at the time that the state was making their list, the company was fine. You know, they went bankrupt after that. But the good news is that the state is reimbursing all the people. in
Because they
Yarmouth.
put it on the list?
I don't know, if you can't anticipate.
No, I
When
mean,
somebody's going
they're
bankrupt,
reimbursing
yeah.
them because they goofed up, is that what it is?
Well, I don't think that they goofed up. I think you could have a perfectly fine company, and they get on the list, and then 2 or 3 years later, they can fold. You know, things happen. Anyway, everybody in Yarmouth is being made whole, even though it took a couple of years. They're all being made whole. They're either getting their money back, or the state is paying for another solar contractor to complete the project. So they will get their panels, and they will get everything
their money
That
back, yeah.
paid for. So that situation unfortunately has. So yes, so we will plan some kind of little table. Jackie's gonna get some information for us so we can get on having
Yeah,
a workshop.
well, I want McNeilis to help us, to carry us by the hand.
Right, well, I mean, he just has to give us some, you know, and then we have to make the contacts. We may not be able to get everybody that was there, but, you know,
So the date of that thing is
No
April
problem. I think
20th?
we would have
yeah,
no
the
problem.
table will be April 20th.
So
When are
we-
you coming back?
I'm coming back around 1st of April, so I'd be,
Okay, so you'll be able to help with that.
yeah.
All right, we already talked to the building inspector, so, okay. Charging stations. Oh my freaking God, this is gonna take, did you get a chance to talk to Joe at all on this?
I think we're in the right direction.
What does that mean?
It means I've developed a relationship with him, and he likes where I'm coming from. I kind of like where he's coming from. So,
What is the name of the person?
the town manager.
Joe Powers.
Powers,
Joe
okay.
Powers.
Well, congratulations,
So
that's a big deal.
I met with him twice, and we have a meeting with Eversource. I just got an invite today, so
Yay.
it's gonna be in the first couple of weeks
Good.
of January.
And so, once we have that part
Once we
done.
have that done, first of all, they want EVCON out of the picture.
Okay, fine.
And that's good
Yeah.
because they were on Eversource's approved vendors. list.
Yes,
So that being said, what I found out was that when you're not on the approved vendors list, you're only gonna get compensated for 80%.
okay, so we want to be on the approved list.
So we want somebody who's on the approved list. So I'll make sure that that does happen. And we might be able to use everything that EVCON's submitted. I don't know the answer to that until we meet with Eversource Like I said, the first one was in January, so when we sit down and meet, I'll get the answers to all those questions, of who owes who what to make this go forward. Joe showed me the list of articles he has for the next town meeting.
Oh, good.
We're like number 3 for the charging stations.
How many?
Oh, fantastic.
Well,
Eversource
Wasn't
like
three?
that.
well, yeah, I'm sure all we've talked about is one,
Okay.
okay? And that one charging station provides 2 leads to
Yes.
charge 2 cars. So what I proposed to Joe, because there's a number of things we had talked about at our previous meeting, including the town shuttle. So I think doing what Dennis did, which is getting one, having it come out good, people don't have a bad taste in their mouth, everything goes through, we don't spend any money, and it's working. Now when people see that, they will be more apt to support future projects. Now, I didn't know this, but Joe came in here because the previous town manager, how much of this is
Right.
part of it, but the previous person was going, got an electric vehicle to charge out here and thought all you did was plug it in with an extension cord. So there's a bunch of mistakes made.
Yeah,
That
we
bit-
do not
that
have an
previous
electric car
person-
anymore, by the way.
That previous person had made mistakes that left some people with bad taste in their mouth on electric charging stations. My job is to make sure that that's not the case, that all of a sudden they look and they go, wow, this went through really easily and we have no problems and it's not costing the town any money. I think the next stage is through Eversource, you can also apply for a fleet. So when you apply for a fleet, you'd be putting in additional charging stations around town, so let's say the community center.
And why
Let's
is it
say-
called a fleet?
Fleet just means multiple locations, and you'd use it for.
A fleet of charging stations, not a fleet of
charging
electric
stations,
vehicles.
So that you'd wind up having charging stations that are used for both the town and for private use. And you have to have a certain percentage for the town and a certain percentage for private use. So this would be the next step, so that now you had a charging station at DPW, and they could buy electric vehicles down the line.
Right.
Fantastic, I
And
love
we
it.
wind up getting a leg up. So like I said, if we get this one charging station in,
Yeah,
that
that's-
should be fine. And like I said, he's got us, like, number 3 on the list of articles for the next meeting. We get the money in July. I'll find out when we meet with Eversource whether or not they've got everything they need. If they don't, then I'll figure out what to do next with the right contractor that's on their approved bidders list to get that.
Well,
And-
EFCON never charged us for anything
They
anyway,
didn't,
so.
but,
yeah.
but you don't know that if we asked them to do additional submittal,
Right.
whether that they come back with a bill, because we never gave them a purchase order, we would have wound up
No.
getting into.
Yeah, so it's better to.
So it's better to start with someone,
Glenn, have you ever gone to the town meetings?
yes.
Okay, you know, people get up there and they advocate for these things, and
Yep.
it seems like you're very knowledgeable of it. Would
I'm
you?
not. But
Well,
I-
you are,
He's
but.
becoming, no.
Jeez, well, would
Well,
you be?
comparatively,
You
you're
need an
an
advocate to
authority.
get up there and sell a thing.
I'll talk to Joe about that
We
on
will
what
all
he needs.
sell it once we get to that
I
point.
know, but to sell it to the town meeting I'm
Yeah.
talking about.
Well, you could do the same thing. And the people in the town meeting don't need anybody that knows anything about it, they just need somebody to say, I support
The
this.
important thing for the town and for the people who attend will be,
Does it cost
does it
anything?
cost any money? So if you get up there and you say,
Doesn't
no,
cost anything.
Eversource has a fund, and that for all the infrastructure to get to the charging station, the town people don't have to pay anything. I don't have to pay
Right,
anything.
no, you're right.
So then, where the money comes from for the actual charging station, then the sales pitch is, well, the town's gonna make money because you charge an extra penny or whatnot, and you get enough people charging down there at the end of the year, what you get back in pays for the charging station. I don't know how quickly.
And more
recovery is.
tourists.
I don't know if that's, yes, I would use that as a sales pitch.
And there are also lots of grants available for the actual charging station.
And that's where I've got to get more informed on how to do that.
I can put you in the right direction for that, and I will help with that. I contacted, Barnstool's already down the road on this thing.
Yep.
They've already got the grants, they're already putting in, I mean, they're ahead of us. Why are they ahead of us? Because they hired a person to be in charge of all the energy stuff.
Of course,
So they're not depending on their energy committee to do this.
right.
His name is Sean Hogan, nice young man. So I contacted Sean and I said, we're interested in trying to do this. Sean said he'd be happy to come And
What's Sean's last name?
Hogan.
Hogan.
Okay.
And you might wanna, we could ask him to come to a meeting, and he could just say, this is what Barnstable did.
I would
These are
love
the
to.
grants that we
That would
got.
be great because we learn.
Just to get somebody else's,
Mhm.
this is how we did it.
Right.
It may not be exactly how we do it,
Yeah.
but at least we can find out. And his sole reason for existing is to take care of all the energy stuff for Barnstable.
That's
He writes all the grants, he does, he does, this is his job, so.
And where does it come from? He must have had a very peculiar background or
It's young,
specific.
I'm sure he had some sort of energy background in college or whatever, So he did say, that the first, as we already know, Eversource is the first thing, and Glenn is gonna push that, to make sure it gets where it needs to go. And once we have the Eversource piece done, then we have to go.
And then once we go through the articles, any monies we need, and we don't know what that amount is, but I'll have an idea so that when the articles get presented, that we'd be able to answer that question. But then the monies will be freed up, a little bit, around July 1st. So I would think that by fall, we'd be getting slow on the charging station. And then if everything goes the way I would expect it to go, then we've got a good leg to stand on. And when I talk about the shuttle, because
Right?
that's
Yeah.
the other thing
They
that
like it.
he wanted us to
Yeah.
support, and I think we do, right?
Absolutely.
Think of it's electric.
Well, that's, I had that talk with him too. So what I told him was, I said, well, I understand where you're coming from and asking for a lot of money, is hard. But I said, here's the argument I would make, is that you're looking to see who's gonna drive that shuttle. Well, right now, you've got the Council on Aging using that shuttle, so you've got a part-time driver. And if you're looking for a full-time driver, you would be approaching that individual and saying, can you provide full-time service during the tourist season? And exactly right, that's what he would do.
Right.
But then what I told him was, well, then the argument we need to make is that at the next date that the shuttle they're using needs to be replaced, that we would want to be purchasing an electric shuttle. Therefore, we'd want to have a charging station at the community center where the Council on Aging is.
Right.
And all of a sudden, you kill two birds with one stone, you get an electric shuttle bus, and you have a charging station there that anybody can use when the shuttle's not charging. So, Joe was on board with all this stuff. I think he's an advocate, but he did say that when you looked at the Board of Selectmen, and Julie was gonna go talk with EvCon and say, hey, we're gonna put you on.
Right.
And he hadn't heard back if that meeting was held yet, but Julie was gonna be doing that, I guess. And once it happens, I'm sure they'll let me know. But anyways, that the Selectmen might be a little bit harder sell on charging stations than Joe is, but he didn't seem to think that there were any roadblocks.
Yeah.
He just indicated, well, there's a couple that are kind of for this and a couple that, we'd have to kind of.
I've talked to Don Howell several
Yeah.
times about this, and
Yeah.
he supports us. He can't always be here because he
Yeah.
has some serious health issues.
I think it's going to work because you're starting step by step. Little by little.
We just have to
Like
have
the door,
patience.
the behind door.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's going to work.
Yeah. So one of the things that Sean did tell us, I'll just throw this out to you guys to be thinking about it, and this is something that they found as they were doing this. He said, one of the things you might want to consider is what kind of charging ecosystem you want to be saddled with. He said, charge point is easy, but you give up some control as you are locked into their platform. It's like Apple,
That sounds
have-
great to me. I need
Yeah.
education.
You can also go with chargers that are, I don't even know what this means, OCPP compliant, which generally means that you can change your software without changing the hardware. So if the software that runs the collecting the fee and all of that, you could update. It's like you could get it, you could have the same charger and just put a different app on it. Whereas this charge point, you can only use their app. You can't go with anything else. So I think they found that when they were looking at it.
Another thing, did you talk about what kind of vehicle would be serviced by the chargers you're installing? It would be everything except Tesla, or Tesla
I
and
thought
everything?
Tesla signed an agreement with GM and a number of other car companies so they could use their charging stations interchangeably. So
Subaru just
you,
announced that this past
you
week.
ought to be
Yeah.
pushing,
Tesla won't be
you ought to be
unique
pushing the
anymore.
one that's the most
Well, that's
flexible and the
phenomenal.
most usable, but the most
But-
number of cars and most manufacturers of cars. And if it's a Tesla one, that's the one that all these automobile manufacturers seem to be going with, and it's the fastest charger. Well, you ought to be going with that, I think.
Yeah, but I'm asking this question because I'm going out of town in January and I needed to charge my car. And I couldn't find a charging place where I'm going. So I had to study the environment,
Right.
surrounding areas. Ideally, one charging station would take care of everyone.
Right,
You
and
know?
that's what we're moving towards, and the European Union, I think, was responsible for this. They told Tesla they couldn't sell cars that weren't compatible
With the rest.
generic charging. It's kind of like Apple had to change.
We don't
their
want
chargers.
specials here.
Yeah.
We want everyone.
The other thing that he said that, and I'll forward this to you because there's a link here that the state has, and you may already have it, that they have a recommended state contractor list for the actual charging stations. And you can get quotes for hardware and software from that. And he did say he'd be happy to chat more.
When you
about
send that to me, just,
I'll-
just give me Sean's phone number. too.
Yep. Well, you can take this one,
Okay.
but I'll email you one too because they're hyperlinks, you can just go.
And I did talk to Maria at CVAC.
Uh-huh.
They're looking at kind of different ways to provide revenue for CVAC.
Right.
And they kind of went out of the business before COVID. They were supplying support for charging stations. After COVID, they kind of dropped out of that business. So she asked me, well, should I, because when I went to sit down with her, she threw it at me, well, what do you think we can do? And, we did, we talked about charging stations, and we made a lot of them being built, and, maybe CVAC gets back into that business, but, that was just us shooting the bull.
And there's the Cape Light Compact rep from Barnstable, who's David Anthony. He and Sean, David Anthony is Sean's boss, basically. They are exploring trying to get the towns to sort of work together a little bit, because if you're going to buy charging stations, if you're going to be paying a different price if you're buying one charging station than if you're buying 20 charging stations. Your price is going to go down. It's just, that's how it works, right? So if Dennis wants to put some in, and Harwich wants to put some in, and Barnstable wants to put some in, and we all kind of go together and get one big contract, we're going to get much, much, much better price. They're looking into that. They haven't quite got there, but CVAC is positioned to do something like that. If that's something that they're interested in, not that they would own the charging stations or that they would pay for the charging stations, but maybe they can be the organizer, the consolidate all the information and maybe create the contract that would go out to, get whoever, is.
In order to make it work, especially this first one, it ought to be the fastest you can get charging station and the most number of cars. And that ought to be
Absolutely.
criteria.
Well, we gotta
Yeah.
get the one, but it has to be the
But
fastest
don't get
one
a
possible.
slow one, so
No,
if you're trying to sell this, and you want everybody to buy in, get a fast one, and get one that has the most number of cars.
Yeah, superchargers for everybody.
Right, it has to be, because people, I think I sent you guys this article.
Let me see.
It says, it was from Canary Media, EV chargers
Yeah.
have a big reliability problem. And one of the issues, and this is one of the things we have to be prepared for at town meeting, or when we're just chit-chatting with people, is, and you've probably.
But does it mention brands?
No. Nobody, there was a moment in time when none, zero, of the charging stations on the Mass Pike were working. They were all down. And the problem is that once they get installed,
You get no service.
they get no, then who's in charge of taking care of them gets a little fuzzy.
That's why when you buy something, you also arrange a contract to provide.
And I think that that's something we have to make
maintenance
sure that.
That's a super point, yeah.
that- Because there's nothing worse, as you know. And this one person I was talking to, they were
How
trying to
could all of
drive.
them go at the same time?
They all went, and not simultaneously.
There must be some
Not
fail-
simultaneously. One went out, and a couple months later, another one went out, and nobody's fixing them, you know, nobody is going and making.
Oh, yeah, just one, I've still got 8 there. And
Yeah,
then 3 months
yeah.
later, another one goes,
Yeah.
oh, okay, now I'm
Yeah.
down to 6 or 7.
And, you know, I know people who have electric vehicles who have tried to do long distance trips. They get the app, they see, oh, great, you know, there's like a bunch of charging stations, I'll be fine. Fully 50, you can expect right now to have fully 50% of those
Sheesh.
non-functional.
Where are you going that
Yeah.
you couldn't find a charger, which state?
Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Where you
So-
going up in?
Barry, I'm going to Barry, but
Yeah.
I'm going to go up to Templeton, which is about 20 minutes away. But I trust Tesla, you know.
Yeah, Tesla's probably a little different, they maintain theirs.
But I'm going to call them
Yeah.
and make sure
Make
the
sure.
8 chargers are working.
Right,
I-
so
I-
this is the kind of information that the naysayers are going to say, but we're gonna tell them, oh, but our chargers are gonna come with a maintenance contract. No, they will be maintained, you know.
By the way, the Eastham Library, where the workshop took place, has 2 charging stations.
Yep,
But that library is new. I don't know if you have been there.
It's
It's
beautiful.
absolutely
Yeah.
a dream.
yeah,
What a beauty.
yeah. Right on the
So
phone.
well thought out,
Yeah.
so well designed. The
Yeah.
layout is phenomenal. And the library with charging stations. I mean, the parking
The
lot.
one at the parking right, there's somebody plugged into that all the time. I've never seen it without anybody plugged in.
Where?
At the parking ride up on 124, you know where the bus goes? There's a
Oh.
charging station there, there's always a car plugged in.
What kind is it?
Even at 10 o'clock at night,
What kind is it?
When
it's just a generic one, it's not a Tesla, it's not a Tesla.
well, when I stopped there at 10 o'clock, there was a Tesla parked there.
Yeah.
charging.
So,
Yeah.
it
10
gets,
o'clock at night, so they were leaving it overnight.
I fully think that people are leaving their cars there overnight.
Do you have to pay for that?
No.
Yeah, I think
It's
it's a
very
state
cheap.
one. Yeah, it's a
It's
state
Very
one, so-
cheap. It's ridiculous.
I
Like I
would love
said-
to get the data on that one charging station to see like how its usage, because that could give us, you know, some
Yeah.
material saying,
Yeah.
hey, this one's in use like almost 100% of the time,
Find out
you
what the
know?
brand is and find out
It's
what kind of cars,
It's a charge point.
what kind of
It's a-
cars can use it. I mean, how many-
Everybody can use
how
it.
many- Everybody?
Yeah,
Can
So
Tesla
anyway.
use it?
yeah. Tesla could use other charging stations.
But I understand you need an adapter, and I don't want to deal with anything.
Right.
I'm not techie at all.
Right. All right, so we'll circle around to that. It sounds like at least we're making, like you said, little steps, but
Yeah.
we're still going in the right direction.
Many steps.
You already gave us a little update from Civic, Cape Lake Compact.
Yeah, the only thing I've got
Yeah.
for CVAC is they're having problems with that down at the golf course.
Yeah.
I guess they've got some pretty strong left-handers that are lifting the balls up over the trees
Oh, my God.
and damaging some of the panels. So there's 4 or 5 panels. So I went for a walk down with the golf course and the guy who puts up netting. So they'll be approaching Joe Powers and probably asking for about
For net.
$50,000 to put nets up to keep the panels from getting
That's
damaged.
crazy. Like the golf course. There's not a lot to say from Cape Lake Compact. I mean, we were in we're not coming out with a new plan. You know, we're sort of in the middle of an existing plan, energy efficiency plan. The new rates came out. They're not as bad as last year. I think we're 16 point something, you know, way lower than Eversource. I don't know, last year we were within pennies, but we're like 4 or 5 cents cheaper than Eversource this time. I don't know what happened.
And when does a Cape Lake Compact switch? Is it in the summer?
In January.
January, but then in
January
December.
to June, and June to December.
Oh, okay.
January to June is always more expensive,
Mhm.
and then June to December is usually less expensive because of the natural gas situation.
Eversource just announced that they are cutting the rates in New Hampshire by like 50% because the natural gas rates have stabilized a lot more than last year at this time.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was
Our
a-
gas is not going to be horrendously high this winter?
Well, that's what Eversource, that's why they're gonna have their rates go up by 50% in New Hampshire.
Because they're using it for power?
No, because, well, I don't know what's going on with the pricing on natural gas last year, because you have the war in the Ukraine, you got other things that impact natural gas rates, but right now, natural gas rates are low again. And for that reason, the generation costs have dropped a lot, but not for Cape Lake Compact, because we're not buying any gas, right?
Right.
We don't do gas, so it's just
Yeah.
strictly electricity. We have NextEra as our provider. They won't always be our provider, but that's a contract we have now.
But they could have gas turbines to generate the power, couldn't they?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they have a mixture. NextEra has a mixture of, they get electrons from wherever, because electrons go where they go. You can't,
Yeah, they're like water.
just go. And, but NextEra offsets any fossil fuels by buying up RECs, which promotes renewable energy. So nothing really that new from Cape Lake on that. I think it's interesting, the COP28 just concluded in Dubai, of all places. And they actually agreed to phase out fossil fuels. Now, nothing's binding, so
God knows the pace.
we'll see. But I thought it was interesting that they're sitting smack dab in oil country.
But it wasn't Saudi Arabia.
No, it was not, it was
Yeah.
Dubai, yeah. So we'll see, but people, I've seen a lot more advertising from National Grid, which is mostly gas, on energy efficiency, because they also run all the utilities have an energy efficiency program that's required by the state of Massachusetts. And they're touting themselves as being this, sort of responsible, save the planet,
Yeah.
keep buying gas.
Changing their image
Yeah.
somehow.
Yeah. So, interesting.
Yeah, they want to position themselves as good people.
All right. So, the next meeting is scheduled for January 18th. Can you make sure that the room is available?
It is. I
It is?
restarted.
Okay,
already.
good. And as usual, send the agenda items. If you hear back from,
Yeah.
I can make sure I get him on the agenda if we can.
Yeah, you can put down charging stations again for next month, because I will have that.
You will have met, yeah. You can get us up to date on that. All right, we have adjourned at 4:20-ish.
Thank you for taking a minute.
No problem. Enjoy yourself in Florida.